Recovering from surgery can be one of the most challenging experiences a person can endure. Attending doctor's appointments afterwards, obtaining resources to prioritize healing, and managing the rest of your daily activities can suddenly seem impossible without the proper support. These circumstances can be even more difficult to attain for LGBTQ plus folks who are seeking assistance with their surgical recovery care needs, particularly for transgender people receiving gender-affirming surgeries. In fact, of the barriers linked to reduced likelihood of achieving a gender-affirming surgery, finances, finding a physician, and having caregiver support are some of the biggest topics that come up. It is not uncommon for a transgender person seeking a surgery to ask for financial assistance beforehand from family and friends. More often, compared to cisgender people, transgender people are underinsured or lack insurance completely, or may have to travel far to receive a surgery, especially if it is not allowed or offered where they live. These considerations exist in addition to the stigma and discrimination that can impact access and outcomes related to healthcare for LGBTQ plus people in general. Luckily, several organizations have dedicated their mission to eliminating these barriers through various forms of financial, physical, and navigational support. One such organization, QueerCare, I had the pleasure of being introduced to at the National Transgender Health Summit this year, where I met Lee Mariño Clyne, co-founder of the organization. I'm so excited to share with you all our conversation as we discuss this incredible volunteer-run organization that aims to make post-operative care for all queer folks less daunting. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Queerity Podcast. Today, I'm speaking with the incredible Lee Mariño Clyne. Thank you for coming on the show, Lee.
Of course. Thank you for hosting.
Absolutely. And I'm going to introduce you. So, Lee, who uses they, he, AA, or L pronouns, is an openly queer and non-binary, physically disabled Latin A activist, researcher, and student. As a certified full-spectrum doula, they have been involved in care work in some form or another since 2018. For the past few years, they have led the volunteer-run nonprofit QueerCare Inc., which offers micro-grants and 100% free post-operative care to people recovering from gender-affirming surgeries. Lee is a current medical student at the University of Illinois Chicago College of Medicine. And what year are you, Lee, by the way, in medical
In my
school?
first year, so I have a long way to go still.
Incredible. Well, congratulations. And I want to also say QueerCare Inc., we're going to talk about this amazing organization that I found out about at the National Transgender Health Summit that we both attended recently. But do they offer pre-operative care as well?
Great question. It's mostly post-operative. So people usually tell us what their needs are and we work with them. So if someone did want someone to come with them and advocate for them during a pre-op appointment or needed transportation to a pre-op appointment, that's definitely something we would consider and try to accommodate as well.
Okay. So mostly post-operative care, but there is some room for someone to receive assistance before going into an appointment. Obviously, those things can be stressful. Why not have someone go with you?
Yeah, definitely. I think most of our policies are pretty flexible. Our financial grants, for example, are based on reimbursements, so we require people to submit receipts. But we also know that there are many people who don't have the money up front to buy the prescriptions that they need or to buy all the wedge pillows and other overpriced medical supplies that they need before surgery. So again, we are definitely flexible, definitely making exceptions for people. So for example, we also send people money just upfront and trust that they'll send us receipts when they buy things if they really can't afford things.
I think that that's wonderful, the reimbursement aspect, what you're getting into. And I am just so floored by the existence of this opportunity for people to take advantage of. And hopefully more people will be able to take advantage of this after listening to this. So to start, a little bit on your background, I wanted to ask you, you're involved in the space of nonprofit organization, community building, and organizing. Do you have a fond memory of community organizing and or activism that's influenced the work that you're doing today?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like something that really started me on my path to medicine and my path to care work in general was filming a documentary during my undergraduate studies. I was studying women's gender and culture studies through the
Oh,
critical race, gender, and culture studies collaborative at my school. And so for my gender studies degree, we had to do a final project, and I decided to
mhm,
film interviews with transgender people living with endometriosis. And it was really personal for me
mm,
based on my experiences with chronic health issues. And they were
mm.
crying, I was crying as we just talked, and they were telling me about how they weren't believed by doctors, how they struggled to get a diagnosis. And I just
My
found that I
goodness.
really appreciated and felt fulfilled by being able to provide an emotional space for people and being able
Yeah.
to hold people in their emotions while they process difficult things. That's what led me to start volunteering as an abortion doula. And again, just like sit with people and emotions that they might be feeling, try to hold people. And then I studied as a full spectrum doula. So I learned about gender doula work, which I'd never heard about before,
Mhm.
which is basically about emotional support for someone through a transition or through recovering from a surgery. I think that's a lot of
Oh,
what brought me to what I do with QueerCare now, where we do provide, physical, practical support for people within their homes, but we also provide socialization and emotional support and validation and advocacy
mhm.
for people as they undergo these surgeries.
You dropped a few important points in there. One of them being the beauty of getting like really into a couple of people's experiences, right? And allowing them to express that. I'm just wondering for those people you interviewed, the transgender people with endometriosis, that is a chronic health condition, right? Understanding how they may not have had an opportunity to have their stories shine in that way or to speak so deeply and to relate to someone else who's experienced a chronic health condition and allowing them the opportunity to do that. So that's number one that I find awesome about what you've been doing. And then the influence about being a doula and how that's affected the growth of queer care or like the start of it, because in a way, I think Queer Care Inc. is providing that same affirming support to individuals who are going through different parts of their transition and are choosing to go through surgeries, which involve such a huge preparation and then also huge aftercare.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're in medical school, and so am I. So you know how tough it is to be in this field, but the journey is so rewarding. And I remember when I was M1, so you will get through it. I want to say, were there any other careers or paths that you consider taking and why? I mean, you mentioned doing full spectrum doula work. So did you see yourself continuing in that? Or like what made you want to go into becoming a physician?
Yeah. Well, I would say I never left full spectrum doula work. I would say that I still do that work now, just in a slightly different form with queer care,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that I would continue to bring those skills to my patient interactions as a physician. I think emotional support and emotional intelligence is an undervalued skill, but a very important skill in physician and patient relationships. I did, however, go into my undergraduate studies, studying psychology and gender studies. And that was because I was interested in becoming a social worker. I
mhm,
was involved with the child welfare system as I was growing up in LA, had a social worker, again, was just feeling like people deserved better social workers, feeling like
yeah.
that system could be really improved. So I was first considering that path, but then found that it was just a little too emotionally difficult for me personally. It was hitting too close to home. I felt like as a physician, I had maybe more opportunity to fix things, have a direct outcome, right? Like do a surgery and then get to see the result immediately. As a social worker, I felt that, yeah, it would have been too difficult for me. I'll definitely still continue to advocate for changing systems and improving systems in our society in my personal life. But I felt like as a career path, that was something I needed to get some distance from, protect my peace a bit. Again, I think it's too easy to burn out when you're in a caregiving mode. And I think it is important to find how to have a path for yourself that feels more sustainable.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Sometimes in this work, right, and doing work related to sex and gender, sexuality, gender identity, etc., it does hit close to home
Mhm.
and it can make you want to reevaluate how close you are to it sometimes. I find myself that even at the conference that we went to, I found myself saying, wow, like I'm surrounded by so many trans people, but I also like see so many things going on in the world affecting trans people that are affecting me. And it's hard to be in it. Like it's hard to really be in that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, taking whatever time is necessary is also vital. But I think what you've highlighted, right, is that the work hasn't stopped. And so, because you are in school does not mean that you've left, doula work. And like you've said so eloquently, that QueerCare Inc. is in a way still existing for that purpose to give that supportive care that is lacking, right? That is lacking. There was a need, obviously, and that's what's being stepped in to help. So, what issues were you seeing that, or maybe people were telling you regarding their experiences with either pre or post operative care that were barriers for them? And you've highlighted a couple, so feel free to share.
Yeah. So doula work, for example, is usually not free. In-home caretakers usually are not free. And many insurance coverages that people have won't cover the cost of hiring someone to stay with someone after surgery, even if their surgeon says, you need to have someone with you for 24 hours after your surgery. You need someone to drive you home from surgery because you won't be able to drive. So I think there's an understanding that it's necessary to have someone taking care of you after surgery, but
Yeah.
many people can't afford it. And there are some factors that are unique to the trans community. So we first named ourselves QueerCare because we wanted to be broad, we wanted to support the whole LGBTQ community, but then we were seeing the most need from the trans community because of specific things like legislation prohibiting people from accessing surgery near them. We have many people that fly from more conservative states to these big cities where we're based, like New York, San Francisco, Chicago, or Philly. They have to travel to another state and then they can't use their state insurance to cover the surgeries. They're paying out of pocket. They have to pay for a flight. They have to pay for a hotel to stay there for their recovery. It's just so much and can be so overwhelming to people. Then there's also the problem of lack of availability of surgeons, and especially surgeons that are familiar with working with the trans community, are going to respect people's pronouns, have not just trained as a plastic surgeon, but have trained as a surgeon caring for this specific population in a compassionate way. Many people have incredibly long wait times in order to access surgery. It can be just so difficult for people to get the surgeries that they need. And in terms of post surgery support, many people don't have those established support systems yet, maybe because they faced familial rejection and they don't have the family support that they used to have, or they had to break up with a partner when they came out as trans, or like I mentioned, they're just traveling to a completely new place. So they don't have an established support system there that can be that family member or that friend that is supposed to take care of them based on the surgeon instructions.
I see. So we have cost, availability, showing up for the community, being an ally to the community. So that's its own bubble, like respecting people's pronouns and such. And then familiarity, I think, is another part. Because I think that part is pretty important too, knowing that you can trust people, like to take care of you. I think it's different, right? If somebody were to say they were to go on, I don't know, I don't suggest this at all, but like a TaskRabbit or Craigslist or some other random like hire for help site, and they were to get somebody random to assist them with their surgery. But what if that person doesn't really care like about that, who they're helping other than just doing the task and getting money for it? Like QueerCare Inc., I think, as you said, has volunteers, like people who want to do this work.
Yeah, definitely. We offer reimbursements for people to take Ubers to the hospital or to follow up appointments and things. But people frequently tell us, oh, I don't know if I feel safe with that. I'd rather have a trans person come pick me up because they're like, yeah, I'm going to have to be lying down in the back maybe because I can't sit yet after my surgery. I need someone who is not going to shame me for the surgery that I had. I need someone who's going to be accepting and there to support me and really show up for me rather than someone they don't know, like you mentioned, or someone they don't know they can trust, someone not from
Yep.
their community.
Yep, 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 exactly. And some of these people may have even had those surgeries themselves, so they know exactly what it's like. So it's
Yeah.
like having that familiarity, it's having the peer support with the post-operative care support too, right?
Yeah.
I think that combines the assistance with physical health needs as well as like mentally recovering from something. And I think that's incredible. So I imagine that you were starting this organization with someone or some people, or was it just you for a while? Like, how did it like organize? Like, who was involved?
We definitely say it was co-founded. I don't think any one person could have done it alone. It was definitely collaborative. It still is to this day. We love that it's collaborative, it's a collective. Began in Brooklyn and San Francisco. So that was in January of 2021. Social media posts that went viral, gauging what the community need was for post-care support that was free. And
Yep.
then we identified that there were the most volunteers available in New York and in San Francisco. We began building up those networks. It was only this past year that we expanded. We presented at the Philly Trans Wellness Conference back in September, I believe, of this past year. Yeah, and then we met some people in Philly who saw our presentation, were really excited about our work, really wanted to have something similar in their city and decided they wanted to
Right.
dedicate the time to building up a branch there. And then this August, when I started medical school here in Chicago, I connected with an activist in Chicago who said, we should work together. We should make something like this happen for Chicagoland also. So
Yeah.
it's very much been based on the need of the community, seeing what is needed, people identifying the need within their own communities that they're living in and reaching out. And it's been based on just the dedication of volunteers, people who are willing to completely unpaid just put in the work to make sure people that can't afford to hire help for their surgery have someone there for them.
Right. Having someone there for them and in these cities too, where I'm sure there's a lot of people who are TGMB identifying, I think it definitely makes sense too to build up the organization there, right? And then a lot of the volunteers come from the community, so it makes sense for, these cities to be starting grounds. So there's Brooklyn, SF, Chicago. Are those the three cities right now?
So we have all of New York City. We cover all of New
Okay.
York City. So send people to Queens, to Brooklyn, but we have San Francisco Bay Area. So again, that's broad. That includes the East Bay, like Oakland and Berkeley, as well as San Francisco, North Bay, South Bay. And
Okay.
then we have Philly, which started in the
Mm,
fall or so and started building up from there.
right.
And then Chicago is our newest branch that we're still working to build up more. We've helped one person in Chicago so far, but we really are
Mm.
trying to focus energy on recruiting more volunteers, recruiting more resources like people with guest bedrooms. One of the things that we offer is connecting people with potential free places to stay if possible for their surgeries, because like I mentioned, it can be so expensive to fly from somewhere else, or some people who are unhoused maybe don't have a secure place to stay while they recover. So unhoused people from Chicago getting surgeries could definitely use a guest bedroom to stay in. So we're still working on building up our resources and our team here in Chicago.
Yeah. I am definitely considering becoming a volunteer. Like you already know from this conversation, I'm so interested. For me, I know that my resources are limited, but honestly, if I can like provide anything, I don't have a two bed, right? I don't have a car, but maybe there are other ways. And I think this is like a good segue into the ways that people can volunteer. I believe there's an opportunity for people to do remote volunteering too. Is that right?
Absolutely. So, no matter where someone lives, they can volunteer with us. We have virtual shifts. It can be really isolating for someone after surgery to be confined to a bed, really limited in their mobility. And it can be very lonely to have that surgery recovery in that isolated setting. So virtual shifts could just be as simple as watching a movie with someone. I once spent a couple of hours watching different K-pop videos with someone. They were like, "Yeah, I just kind of want company. I just want to like feel supported in that space by having someone else with me." So virtual shifts are definitely possible. Those direct care shifts are one option. And then there's also so much virtual organizing that we need help with that people can do from anywhere with our tech team and
Yeah.
posting on social media to help reach more people so that people know these free resources are out there for them to help us
Right.
recruit more people. Working on art with us. We want to make like a zine that shows a guide to how to recover from surgery. We want to make easily digestible information for the community. Like we need artists, we need social media people, marketing people, website designers. Really, no matter what someone's skill set is, I'm sure that we could use their
They
help.
could be of assistance. They could be of
Yeah.
use. No,
I'm
I
like,
get you.
wow.
I get you. I get you. Like even having this podcast, like trying to like do design a little bit, social media a little bit, recording, editing. You could have people who are experts in all that be such a huge help. So I totally get what you're saying. So my understanding is this is volunteer run completely.
Yeah, so no one gets paid. We're run entirely by unpaid volunteers.
That just shows you the dedication that people like have, like that people really care, right? Like that just shows you how much people care. Because I'm sure, right? Like everyone has their own careers going on. I mean, you're in school. Some people might actually like be like working. Some people might, I don't know, have like caretaker needs on other responsibilities, but they're coming back here, right? They're coming to do this because we do realize how lacking, right? How lacking this area is in our overall healthcare system. Uh, yeah, yeah. I think this is great. I really like I sit back, I hear what you're saying, and I'm like, why hasn't this existed for like even a longer time? But I mean, time will just, show how influential this is. I mean, you say you've helped one person so far in Chicago. That's gonna grow. That's gonna grow to like tens to then hundreds. Like it's going to grow for sure.
Yeah, I think since we started, we've helped over 200 people and given away over $20,000.
Oh
So
my
it's,
goodness.
yeah, it's been a lot of grant writing, a lot of fundraising, a lot of hours by a lot of amazing, dedicated volunteers. We definitely couldn't do this without the volunteer network of people that are just really selflessly giving their time. And I love that we are run by volunteers because I think many trans people struggle to ask for help. Many people in general, I think, struggle to be vulnerable and ask for help. And I like that I
Yeah.
can tell people, these volunteers have no ulterior motive. Like people applied to volunteer with this organization, got trained to volunteer because they want to help people like you. Like, please let people come and help you. Many people, I think, ask for less help than they actually need. I had one person say, I'm going to get bottom surgery. I just need someone to pick me up from the hospital, drop me at my car, and then I'll drive home 3 hours and I'll be fine from there. And I was just like, oh, like, I respect your autonomy and gently want to ask if we could please help you more and maybe have a
Yeah.
volunteer drive you all the way
That's a
home.
wonderful way of saying that, by the way. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just like extending some gentle openness about the fact that we have volunteers available and funding available and we want to give it to
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Did they take advantage?
they did. So we had a volunteer drive them home and then another volunteer drive their car home.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, I can't like listen. Listen. I can't imagine.
No.
Okay. Um, One of the things I wanted to get into that you sort of pointed out before is that the support that volunteers are offering isn't limited to just their direct post-operative care needs, like having a safe place to stay or like having meals prepared for them, etc. But it goes beyond that. In particular, for individuals who do not have friends or family to assist them, don't have someone familiar, they are getting some sense of familiarity by having someone in the community help them. But another thing I want to point out too is a little bit of my background comes from doing research regarding LGBTQ people living with cancer or another chronic condition. Like I presented on diabetes at the National Transgender Health Summit. So I'm wondering, have you thought about how the support of an organization like QueerCare could also extend to just overall conditions for people who need it, especially like something where like have a chronic condition and then they are lacking, for example, food security or medication assistance or transportation, etc.
Yeah, definitely. We made our name broad on purpose. Our mission is to support the whole LGBTQ community. I think we get the most requests about gender affirming surgery because we are an intentionally transgender led organization. Our leadership is all trans people. And we
Mm-hmm.
do have that specialized knowledge. Many of our volunteers are people who've had gender affirming surgery specifically before, but we've also
Mm-hmm.
supported people through cancer, through getting procedures like a colonoscopy. It's not only gender affirming surgeries that we've supported, and we do read every single request that comes in. Every single request that's submitted is read by someone on the leadership team, and if we can help someone, we absolutely will. And many times we can help them in other ways, even if we can't provide the volunteer availability, right? We can
Yeah.
refer them to different organizations that provide free food deliveries or let them know about other housing opportunities. I think a good resource that we have with many of our volunteers coming from the city that they live in is that they're more familiar with community organizations already. We do some amount of case working in terms of referring people to other existing resources, letting people know what's out there for them, helping them connect with more funding outside of just the funding we can provide also. We know that the money we give right now doesn't come close to covering the whole cost of surgery for people. So we
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of directing people to other resources as well that they can access. But I would say absolutely anyone who needs help, who's an LGBTQ person, should apply to ask us for support, and we always do what we can.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate you saying that, right? And that saying like you're not just limited, right, to certain demographic or certain type of surgeries, but it is open to whoever needs it that is in the community. And that will go a long way because we know that LGBTQ people are typically lacking support in those areas, right? And in my presentation, I was talking about the trans people that we found who have diabetes, they were more likely to be food insecure,
Yeah.
have difficulties with transportation, all of that stuff. More of them were on Medicaid, for example. So if you think about like insurance reimbursement, how it can typically be like less, or even, I mean, as we're seeing with legislation, possibly even taken away if it's legislated out for Medicare versus like a private insurer. And then how do you afford that? You've
Yeah.
mentioned grants a couple times. Can you describe what type of grants someone can apply for? And then how many are you like awarding in a given year?
Yeah. Great question. So a person can apply for as many grants as they have surgeries. So it's not just one grant per person. Anytime someone submits a request, they tell us their surgery date and what surgery they're having, and a bit of information about what kind of support they're looking for. So
Mhm.
a person can definitely receive our grant multiple times to get help with multiple surgeries. Right now, we're providing reimbursements of about $250 per person. So again, we know that
Mhm.
does not cover the full cost of surgery.
But
You
that's
probably
something. That is something for sure. That is
have,
something for sure.
yeah, again, the wedge pillows, the medical supplies, like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it is so much
You
for
about to
someone
make
to,
me get my wedge pillow. Like I'm about to show people what this wedge pillow looks like. Cause
or like
it's
donut
for real.
pillow, these pillows. It's a whole thing, but just like it's so accessible, the surgeon will tell you go and buy like this whole list of things. And many people, that's a real struggle to afford. So anyway, the process is it's about 250 in
Yeah.
reimbursements. So theoretically, people go and they spend money, they send us receipts to just show us that it's broadly something related to surgery. We say we reimburse costs related to surgery, but that can be food deliveries, that can be Uber rides, that can be a stuffed shark from IKEA if it is needed for your emotional support. We try not to gatekeep as much as possible. Even with our last conversation about the kind of surgeries we support, gender affirming surgery is also a broad term. You know, a cis woman having a breast reconstruction after breast cancer, gender affirming surgery. I think we definitely
Yeah.
want to support as many people as we can in as supportive ways as we can. Like when people don't have money up front, we want to make exceptions. Yeah, we want to listen to people's needs and we want to do our best to meet those needs.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So, like I mentioned, right? Like I had my wedge pillow in the back. I was recovering from surgery for a minute and I'm still recovering from my surgery. I'm gonna be very candid. I haven't talked about this on the show, but I would have loved to connect with QueerCare during the days of my early post-op recovery. I mean, I had my mom and then I had my roommate and I had a couple of friends who came through. God bless them. God bless them. But you can never have too much support, right? Like you can never have too much of someone saying, "Hey, can I do this for you? Can I get this for you?" Because when you are stuck to that wedge, because when you are stuck on that wedge pillow watching Love Island Australia for days and days on end, that's what I was doing. But I mean, this is not what everyone else is. I was reading, I was doing whatever to fill in time. I was doing a little bit of research, whatever I can. My friends were like, you shouldn't do anything. You need to calm down. You know how it is. If you're a medical student or if you're just like a student in general, you have that grind to just keep on. Like you're like, what am I missing? You know what I'm saying? But no, it's like, sit down, baby, like sit down. I think this work is so essential when we are in the midst of so much descaling and pushback on gender affirming care. And I appreciate the story you shared about the recipient who said, oh, I'll drive the car here and then like the rest of the way, or like I'll drive 3 hours. I think you said 3 hours myself after having bottom surgery. I'm like, no, 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 no. You're like, I gently want to tell you this information. Does QueerCare collect feedback, stories, surveys from people and their experiences? And do you do anything with that information if you have it?
Great question. And thank you so much for sharing about your surgery. And I'm so glad to hear that you had support. I definitely wish you could have had even more support. Just like you said, there's no such thing as too much community support. We
Yeah,
do
yeah,
send
of
out,
course.
yeah, yeah. We do send out surveys to people. So when they first apply to receive support from us, they have a 30-minute video interview with a care coordinator, which is someone who's trained to be their point of contact, who sets up the shifts for them that volunteers can sign up for. So it's another volunteer who's just trained in that role. And they get a survey after that interview with the care coordinator that's anonymous, just to make sure if they have any issues with that person, if they'd like a new person, that can be accommodated. And then we also send out a survey at the end of shifts with volunteers so that if they have any discomfort with any volunteers, they can let us know about it. And we do get really amazing responses to the surveys. We've used it in some of our presentations, our research presentations, to show why a support system like ours is necessary, is people
Mhm.
saying like, I never imagined that something like this could exist. I can't believe that people want to support me for free. I was going to be completely alone. I had absolutely no one to take care of me. I was so scared. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know who I could ask for help. And then I heard about this and I just, couldn't believe that people wanted to support me for free. I think these testimonials just really showed how necessary something like this is and
Mhm.
how much support networks in other cities are still needed because people are having needs that are going unfulfilled, that are, not being addressed by their insurance, or their surgeons tell them how much downtime they're supposed to have and that they're not supposed to lift over 10 pounds or something, but maybe that's not practical for them because they're taking care of their kid, they're taking care of their pets, they're still having to take care of themselves because they don't have someone there for them.
Yeah. So the part about getting that pre-interview part before is like those sort of qualitative, those sort of like conversational pieces add so much value, right, to your organization. And I'm glad to hear, right, that that's ongoing. It's something that I like to talk about is like feedback when it comes to who are we serving, like how are we doing it, and like what is like the best way to do it? Like, are people finding that this is helpful? Are they not? I think feedback is so great because you can see where the gaps are and intercede in that. And when you do hear from people about their experiences, it may give you some more information. You're like, oh, I didn't even realize, right? Like this was something that was missing for these individuals. And so I don't know, maybe the next award is like, okay, I mean, I know we've talked about witch pillows, but there's so many other things, right, that like people probably need. Let's say just blankets in general, right? Or like somewhere to sleep or like, I don't know, mattresses. It's like maybe we should award like a grant for this specific purpose, right? And like, how are you going to know about that? It's like through like getting feedback,
Mhm.
etc. That's just like an example that I was giving. But ultimately, I think the organization's probably going to get so much better from hearing back from what people are saying. And it's really awesome that there has been that communication going on. So I really appreciate what you've just said. So, from our conversation, it sounds like there's an important need for volunteers to help the organization continue.
Mhm.
And like I said, I've considered participating myself. So, how can one sign up to volunteer? Is there a website that they can go to?
Yes, definitely. That's queercareinc.org. And I would really stress that people don't need any certifications or qualifications, pre-existing experience to volunteer. We provide training before in-person shifts with people in recovery. And again, there are just so many different things that people could do within the organization, whether it is, working on outreach, working on getting the word out to more people. There are just so many things that we need help with. There are so many ways people could support growing our network. We need volunteers, we need donations, we need guest bedrooms, we need people with cars that can just give someone a ride once in a while. There are just, again, so many ways that the community needs help and that we need help from people that, are willing to give their time or willing to help in some way.
So you heard it here. If you're interested in helping in any of these cities that we said Chicago, Philly, San Francisco, New York City. If you're interested in helping in any of those areas, you don't need the special certification, go ahead and sign up. And I'll remember to put the link when I read the outro to this episode. So as well, I wanted to say, I know that you've mentioned how you all apply for money to then give money to people. Are there ways people can donate money directly? Are you having any fundraisers going on? If so, please let us know.
Absolutely. We do have a PayPal. We will be tabling at a number of Pride events throughout Chicago,
Oh,
as well
yeah.
as,
Happy Pride Month. Yes.
yes, Happy Pride Month. Yes, we'll be at the Shed Aquarium Pride this Saturday coming up. But
Okay. Chicago.
yep, we definitely table and people donate money that way. People donate money electronically through PayPal. I would mention too, people can volunteer from anywhere, just to reinforce that. People can help us from anywhere, do virtual shifts from anywhere. So we need volunteers from anywhere in the US.
Do they have
And
to be in the US then?
no, not technically, no. It's easiest if they are, but no, they don't have to be in the
Okay.
US. They do
Okay.
have to be 18 or older to volunteer. But yeah, no special training. Everyone is welcome. Everyone should apply. And then we interview. And if someone's a good fit, then we train them and they can get started right away.
Right. There's so much, as you said, we said like they can help in like the marketing a little bit. They could help with direct assistance to volunteers, maybe some like capacity building in the organization, et cetera. Like there's just so many areas
Grant
and it
writing.
just excites me. Oh, what did you say?
Grant writing. We need help getting more grants all the time. So we
Okay,
can
grant writing.
people. Yeah, so many things.
Grant writing for sure, for sure. So what plans do you have in the next 5 to 10 years? I mean, for yourself? in creating more equitable care for LGBTQ plus people. And I guess this could be a part where, you mentioned a specialty if that's something that you've already decided.
Oh, I'm not decided yet. I like to be
Okay.
open-minded. It's just my first year. Yeah, I'm going to be working in LGBTQ health. That's what I'm really passionate about. I already know that. But there's so many ways to do that, so many different specialties that serve that community. So I don't
Yeah.
know about that just yet. Yeah, but I plan to finish medical school and I plan to continue with queer care throughout my training. It's something that I'm really passionate about,
Yeah.
really committed to, and I really loved to see the network grow. It's really beautiful. There's a cyclical nature in that many people who we support through their surgeries then become volunteers. It's just really inspiring to see people just giving their time because they care about people they don't even know, just people that are a part of their community and need help. It's really amazing, and I'd love to see QueerCare or other organizations similar to QueerCare giving free support to people through their surgeries
Mhm.
in other cities as well. There's so many places where people need help.
Mhm. And one of the things that I wanted to mention too, so I was talking to my doctor or the PA in her clinic, and she said they were starting like a peer support group at their facility. And I wanted to say, is there also room for partnerships with some of these clinics, hospitals, et cetera, doing these surgeries to like put in a pamphlet, right? Hey, we have knowledge of this organization, right? And we're going to share this info with you so you know you can contact them, right? Or set up an appointment with them because they are a free resource for you to use. Have you had any conversations of the sort?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mentioned part of our work is connecting people with other resources. So when we do an intake interview with someone applying for support, we listen to their needs and then we try to help connect them with
Mhm.
the areas where they most need help. So there's an organization, Elevated Access, that provides free flights to gender affirming surgeries with volunteer pilots with their own planes.
Wow.
So that's one example of an organization that we refer people to when they're struggling to afford a flight. We definitely refer people to places where they can get HRT if that's something they're struggling with. We refer people to more long-term housing issues. If someone is
Mhm.
unhoused and won't have a place to stay, even after staying in the guest bedroom we provide for them, we want to connect them with somewhere where they can find a more permanent option. I think there's so many people doing amazing work already that we want to work with each other and help fill needs for patients.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to mention that on those places and those organizations too. You said free flights. I said, what? In my head, I was like, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like, you never know. You never know. Because I'll say this, some people are flying out of the country as well to get these surgeries, especially if you want to go to a particular type of doctor or a particular method. And so that could be such a huge lift, right, for somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, we have people that fly also to these big cities in the US for surgery from a different country. And then they say, could you help get me legal representation? I need help with immigration issues. So then we,
Yeah,
do
which is a
research.
huge topic right now. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We do some research, we refer them to someone else. I think it can sometimes be hard to know all the resources that are out there. These free resources, they might exist, but if someone doesn't know about it, then they won't be able to access it. So
Exactly.
yeah, even if people can't volunteer with us or donate to us or anything, like just telling someone about us is a huge help. Someone you know who might be getting a surgery who could use some financial help, could use some emotional help or some help with their laundry, the cooking, the groceries, whatever, as they recover. Just getting the word out, I think, is really helpful too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, absolutely. I agree 100%. And again, hopefully, someone listening in is finding out about this, is able to understand that they have support and can use the benefits of Queer Care Inc. And I'm so glad that I crossed paths with you. I'm so glad when we talked at the conference and you came up to me and we were talking about what restaurant you were going to go to in SF. And I told you Lamar. Do you remember that? Right, right. That was at the very end of the conference. So I'm glad that we could connect there and we could bring it to the show and share with the world what's going on in terms of support for LGBTQ plus folks and their healthcare needs. This is the way that we carve a path towards health equity by building up the resources we have for our people in the community. And this is just an example of that and doing so much more. And so thank you for coming on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anything else you want to share, Lee, before I close?
Well, I wanted to say congratulations on presenting your research at the National Transgender Health Summit. Thank you for sharing about your surgery. Congrats on your surgery. I hope your healing continues. It was so great speaking with you. I was so nervous to go up to you at that conference. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so much further along in your medical education.
No, please don't be nervous. Please don't be nervous. No, I welcome the conversation. And then to find out that you're in Chicago, I was like, I mean, we low-key could have did this in person, but I typically record virtually. And this is just a virtual podcast. But yeah, we will connect for sure in person again. Yeah, I appreciate it. At this time, I'm going to end the recording. Thank you all for listening. Stay tuned for the outro. I am floored by the incredible efforts of QueerCare and what Lee, the organizers, and volunteers at the organization have been shaping. There is a lack of LGBTQ plus directed support in this area of assisting folks directly with their healthcare recovery needs. Even Lee's example of having a video chat where they watched K-pop videos with someone to accompany them as they recovered can be so fulfilling. It helps to know that the volunteers are 100% dedicated and compassionate about doing this work. Often, volunteers identify in the community themselves. As a trans-led organization, this shows the beauty of how we as a community are improving health equity by showing up for each other. Thank you for listening in. If you would like to visit the QueerCare website, visit queercareinc.org. I want to highlight that if you are a person who requires post-operative care needs, please reach out, as they not only have direct and remote volunteer support, but can offer financial assistance. You can find references for our conversation in this episode's biography. And if you want to hear more content, watch clips of our conversation, or keep up with the show, let's push the conversation more on Instagram at Equality Podcast or on TikTok at the EQ Pod. Full video podcast episodes are posted on YouTube, which is also linked in bio, or you can type the Equality Podcast in the search bar. If you liked what you heard today, please give the show a quick star rating, follow, and or subscribe on your preferred listening platform. Take care and see you in the next episode.